Hello guys and welcome to Joe Maydays TV for another episode on aviation history and gaming. And if you like to skip the history part, the start of the gaming part will be shown in the comments below. Our today's topic will be Supermarine Spitfire, and more precisely its version Mk2A. But let's start at the basics. The Supermarine Spitfire was a British single-seat fighter aircraft. It was designed by R.J. Mitchell, who was an engineer in the Supermarine aviation. The plane saw combat in all theaters during the World War II, and it was regarded as one of the best, if not the best, fighter of World War II. Its maiden flight was on 5th of March 1936, and it went into production in 1938 and it lasted until 1948. And at that time period, over 20,000 units of different Spitfire versions were produced. One of its key features was the use of elliptical wing design. It induces lowest amount of drag. Early models had problem with lack of fuel injection systems. So for example, BF-109E could relatively easily outrun them in a negative G dive. This problem was somewhat taken care of in the later production variants and further development of Merlin series engines. The variant that we'll be testing and playing in War Thunder is Spitfire Mk2A, and it was armed with 8 7.7mm Browning machine guns. That is a lot of machine guns, but pilots soon learned that it took them, on average, 4,500 rounds to take out enemy aircraft. Now that is a lot of rounds, so Spitfire Mk2B was added two 20mm Hispano cannons, with additional 4 7.7mm Browning machine guns. So without further ado, let's see how Spitfire Mk2A version performs in the game. So in game, its maximum altitude is set at 10,000 meters. It has a top speed of 571 km per hour, turn rate of 15.1 seconds. Very impressive, very impressive indeed. And its climb rate is 19.4 meters per second. So let's go check its never exceed speed. And then let's have some fun flying it. Well, to give you a fair warning, I might have miscalculated myself a bit on this one. I may have miscalculated the altitude a little bit for this test. But let's find out what happened. So the aircraft actually made it above 770 km per hour in this test. Then by God knows whose fault, we ran out of altitude. For the reasons I will explain later, I like to attack bombers with Spitfire. As you may have noticed already, my aiming is not the very best in the world. But the key with killing bombers with 7.7mm machine guns is aiming for their engines. Now at a certain time it did look like I was just shooting all over the place. But I was aiming and eventually I did manage to hit both of his engines. Once again I am attacking an AR-2. I started spraying bullets on him from a bit longer range. Because why not? I have like a million of them. At shorter ranges, these bullets seem more deadly, and eventually I do get a nice fire on his right engine. Ecstatic with my brilliant victory, I failed to look behind myself, and behind my six there is an enemy aircraft that starts pounding on me. And the results you can see for yourself. And this clip I really like very much. Behold of this glorious exchange. I'm throwing 160 tea biscuits every second at this German fellow. And he's not holding back either. No sir. In the end, an airplane can take only so much tea biscuits. The load was overwhelming and it started pulling him to the ground. But I too had to leave. I had sudden case of unexplained lead poisoning and I had to return to base. The reason why I mainly fight bombers at this stage with 7.7mm machine guns, which is not so smart, is that my pilot has very poor G tolerance and stamina at this point. So fighting fighters is a lot harder because of his constant blackouts. If the opponent is executing some harder G turns, which I will show you later, but for now enjoy in some more aerial combat against bombers. Well, maybe enjoy is an overstatement, but still, to enjoy. In this run I have managed to find and locate the BF-110. I have just basically started grinding the British tree, so you can see my pilot is still undeveloped with really poor visibility and situational awareness. Not to mention the G tolerance, that we will talk about that a bit later. But in the end I do get a nice kill. And in this clip you can clearly see about the pilot's G tolerance and stamina. He's blacking out more than a freshman at a frat party, for God's sake. And just as he recovers, it happens again. And oh, not again. Frustrated, I go into a dive to get that kill, but I do manage only to get an assist and a death for myself by a tree. A job well done. But sometimes I do manage to shoot down some fighters, like this BF-109. There were again some fade outs of the pilot, but my aiming was simply brilliant. I managed to miss like 99% of my shots. But the opponent's flying was quite good. I did manage to score kills against some Yak-7s after a lot of struggle and issues that we were talking about before. And that would be all for today's video. I absolutely love Spitfire Mk2A. Can't wait to increase the crew abilities, because like I said, I just started grinding the British tree and my crew is something like 3rd or 4th level at this time. But I will definitely continue flying Spitfires, they're just awesome. So thank you very much for watching, have a fantastic day and cheerio!